Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special chat I've got today. He is one of the moderators from the Final Fantasy North American Facebook group, as well as the owner of the brand new Haven Games in Florida. You probably know who he is. He's also the co-founder, or maybe full founder, of Cards of Ivalice. He is Mr. James Lockwood. James, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me on your stream, and just looking forward to talking Final Fantasy and all the awesome moments and nonsense that comes with it, as I'm
Excellent.
sure you're aware.
Oh
So,
yeah. Well, let's dig right into Final Fantasy. So you and I met at Reunion last year in Omaha, and that's a. How long have you been doing Reunion? I know that was the fourth one. I forget. Were they like annual or?
in 2018, we did the first reunion, and basically, I had never run an event. I ran a very small event before that, but didn't have a store. So we were just like, how do we do this? We went to our city hall, like guest center sort of thing. And I was just like, I don't know, like let's just throw some tables in there and hope people show up. And we had like 88 players, something. I mean, it was pretty insane. But people flew all over the place, and then we were just like, I don't know. I love doing it. I broke even. That's a success. Um, and then we're just like, let's just do it next year. And then people came, and but with that, there were some good ideas and there were some bad ideas. So you just learn your lessons and just go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I have to ask about your storefront, Cards of Ivalice. You folks, I'll put a link in the description below. You can check out, product boosters. He's got singles, all kinds of stuff on there. So one, is 12 your favorite game, or Tactics, or because obviously you've named it after Ivalice, or do you play the games?
Yeah, no, Tactics is probably my favorite. I love a lot of the Final Fantasies, but I think Tactics has the tone of it. It's a bit more serious.
Yeah.
Kind of Game of Thrones-ish politics, and
Yeah.
it's definitely my jam. But 4 was my first one, so that kind of has a special place. But no, some people don't like it. But like if you've played 12, I'm not sure if you have, but
I played them all.
the way. Oh yeah, so the way they talk in that, very like Shakespearean, that sort of thing. I love it. Like I said, some people are like, it's so, I don't know, like they can't understand it, or it's just like it's too long-winded, and I'm like, no, I can listen to it. But it was from Tactics. So.
Nice. And have you had a physical location for Cards of Ivalice? I was never sure about that, or was it always just kind of an online store?
I was going through some rough times. I had lost my job, kind of running low on funds, and when you don't have much money, what do? You discover that there is a Final Fantasy card game. I found it at the store nearby. Bought a few cards, kind of fell in love with the game right away. And then I was gifted a box. Now, at this point, you're talking Opus 1 was... This is like November 2017. An Opus 1 box was like $180, $190. Wow. Yeah. But I opened it. I got a Cloud, a foil Cloud, and like a Shanto. I mean, it was like, like God tier box. But at the time, non-foil Cloud was like $90. Foil Cloud was like $200. And I was sitting there, and I'm just like, well, this is insane. I just opened like $400 worth of cards. Let me go on the marketplace. That's how I met like Matt Rice and all the other characters. And then my wife Kayla was like, you seem to enjoy the game, but you also are making money. Why don't you just see where this goes? And basically you go to the DMV and you go, I'm starting a company, sign a little something, pay $50, you get your LLC. And then it was just like, all right, I have a store now. A lot of hard lessons learned through that. You gotta learn about taxes and all the nonsense that goes with it, distributors, reps. And I'm still honestly dealing with some of that stuff today. I'm sure you're aware, like there's always product allocations
Yeah.
and where are my promos and reps going. I didn't know there was a Final Fantasy card game, and you're just like, oh my god, like please. But yeah, so that's how it all started. But it was just Final Fantasy for a number of years. But you have to love the game. Like I don't think you could, like if you really wanted to make money, you would find something else to do. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and I like that. It's always nice when I meet someone who has also played the games themselves, because not everybody has. Some people, I would imagine that draws a lot of people in, as they've heard of Final Fantasy as an IP, but for some folks, they've never played the actual Final Fantasy games, but they just like, the way this trading card game works, so that's exciting for them. But yeah, I always like, oh good, they know the game, they like know all the little character references and everything.
So right now at the physical location for the Haven games, there is definitely tactics artwork around the place. Because there's my partner Matt. He came from Flesh and Blood, and it was just important to be like, look, this is where my story came from. Like, we're not going to forget that.
Sure.
So some of the iconic Ivalice art is up here and there. It's just important to me, and I think that resonates with customers that come in and they're like, oh, I know that character, and or we have like like Final Fantasy X music playing, and someone's playing a game, and they're like, "Oh, hold on, like I love this part," and it's like, I like that. But no, it's interesting what you said about some of the players not knowing anything about Final Fantasy, because sometimes the best players in the game are just like, every card could just be like a blob with a different name, but as long as I understand the text and how they interact, like whatever. At which point I'm kind of like, but you should play the games. Like you're missing out.
It's well known for a reason. Like those games are overall pretty good, and there's a reason it has its own franchise and kind of became its own thing. So, no, I fully agree with you. I've always kind of wished that, and who knows, maybe if now that events are returning, or if it ever gets big enough, maybe they'll push title more. I've always found the title format interesting, not necessarily from like a gameplay balance perspective, but just from, again, it lets you play with the characters you like. If you like 8 or you like 4, I'm going to play with all the 4 characters. I'm going to play with all the Cecils or the Roses or etc. So that's a format I always kind of wish they would push more just for that. But like you said, maybe the people who don't care about the games are like, I don't care about that.
Oh, I'm with you. The number one thing that happens with Final Fantasy is, and this happened yesterday, customer will come into the store. Oh, there's a Final Fantasy card game. Yeah, it's got these mechanics and this and that. But which box has all the characters from Enter their favorite title? Doesn't matter what's worth the most. Doesn't matter, which one has the most 9 characters. And I point to the box and sale. That's it. Like, which one has, Tifa? I mean, that's like the most common one.
Yeah. And you say all of them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I've played title a number of times, and like it can get wonky or crazy with some of the interactions, but like I think everyone entering title accepts that you're kind of like on fun mode. And between sleeves and deck boxes, like I have I wish I would have brought them out here, but I have like the Final Fantasy 11 sleeves, not the Shantoto one, but it has all the female protagonists, and it's from like an anniversary.
Oh, nice. I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, so I have the sleeves and the deck box, and I'm just like, I love 11. I would play title 11, like, the whole way. I think a lot of people play tactics, and people play all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing with the game, is you have pride in the characters you like, so go flex it, go.
Well said.
Smash some people.
Okay, so since you kind of have an insight on the distribution side, since you go to a warehouse, you pick up kits, you do shipping, all those things, I definitely have some questions about that for you. Promos, you mentioned those. I don't know if you have any insight on this. At Reunion, you were able to bring a whole slew of promos that was really great for me. It let me catch up on a lot of them, because at my store, at least, last thing I saw was, I don't know, maybe Cards of Ivalice, and that was from 2019, 2020, quite a while ago.
Right.
And there's always this like battle where we'll ask the store, I'll ask my fantasy shop, hey, have you got any more? Well, we haven't heard anything from, such and such. And, oh, can you call them? Can we call them? And there's this, there's never a clear answer of like, what is going on? And as a customer, like, sometimes I feel like they want to know who to blame. It's like, I don't want to blame anybody. I just want the cards. So whatever I got to do to get the cards, let me know, whether that's talk to you, talk to them, whoever. Do you have any insight on any of that?
Yeah, and I think people who are watching this will find it interesting. Some of them might get angry, but I'll just tell you how it is.
Sure.
So I have an advantage that about 15 minutes on the road is one of the main warehouses for distribution.
Oh, okay.
So I don't call. Well, I mean, I call them, but I then drive up to the warehouse and go, I want this, put it in the car, load it up. So here's the deal with promos. The main three distributors are Southern Hobby, PhD, and GTS. You may have heard those names being thrown around a bit. They get the promos. I will say that, like, 100% certainty, they get the promos. And what happens is you have to call, and let's say Matt is the name of my rep. You have to go, okay, I would like 60 copies of the Final Fantasy X starter, and I need promos. I need the December promo, and here's like the Square Enix. They have like a 10-digit like product code.
Mm-hmm.
The rep can just go okay and just not do anything. Like doesn't because, and then if you go, hey, my promos are missing, they can just go, yeah, like we don't have them. If you do not include these promos, I am not ordering from you. Magically, the promos will be there. You just have to play hardball with them, and you have to really be like, listen, I have customers, they're planning for promos, that's why they show up.
Yeah.
If you want me to keep, sustaining my orders every 3 months, I think, like a new set comes out, 3 to 4 months or whatever. But I feel like a lot of store owners don't want to dive into that weird relationship with their rep where they're kind of being aggressive.
Yeah.
And some people just don't like confrontation, but if you want it, you gotta ask for it. Things do happen, like during COVID, some shipments may get delayed or whatever. Like you were just talking about how I had a bunch of promos. When I picked up Opus 16, I pulled up, and my rep literally went, we've got tons of promos laying around. It just seems like nobody wants them. Do you want them? And I'm like, load it up, man. Like, we're going to use them. So when, ReRaise happens, everybody's getting promos. We got a ton of them. And I know that bothers people because they're like, why is that workout for him? But we're struggling. Jim Doolittle, Sam Prime, Andrew Mendoza, a few other people played at my pre-release. And they're like, we haven't seen a promo since February 2020 or something, or 2021, something insane. And I pulled out January, February, March, and April. I was like, I have Lilith sets, and they're just like, I'm so happy we came to this. And I was like, that's all it takes, a little promo pack from the distribution, and people's eyes light up. And it's, it's a shame that other people don't get to do that. No, on the flip side, I know it's like a long story, but on the flip side,
I'm just glad to hear it.
Okay, well, thank you. There was maybe it was like 6 or 7 months ago, I went on the Facebook page and I was like, listen up, everybody. I've got extra promos. I'm going to make these little like packs for different stores. Just have the store owner reach out to me. 2 store owners reported me for distributing promos to people. Like they were like, why is he doing this? It's a scam and all this. And I'm like, who is this benefiting? Like, or who am I scamming? First off, I'm mailing out promos, like, and I was paying shipping. So like,
so you're
this
just
is the
giving
worst
away
scam
free
of all
product.
time.
Yeah. I don't see how that's benefiting you a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't know. If there's any way it's benefiting me, it's that the game's growing, and maybe some of those customers will reach out to me. That's like the greediest way I can put it. Like, I think this year, when they announced, when Square was like, "Hey, we're doing ReRaise," there's these stores that are going to do it. I reached out to store owners and players like Matt Rice, Matt Okamoto, a few other people, and I'm like, this we have to ride the momentum of OP returning and really start pushing it.
Yeah.
And in the past 3 weeks, I think the NA page has gained like 150 people.
I've noticed how busy it's been, like just the amount of random posts you'll get. Even someone just, hey, new to the game, what's this card do? Hey, this thing here. So
yeah, exactly. And we need that. You need new people to push it, or you have people that are like, hey, I've played Flesh and Blood, but I saw this like randomly in a store. You need growth, and I think something Matt Rice and I have really been pushing for is, unfortunately, a lot of stores may sometimes snap at each other or compete, and everyone needs to, if everyone works together, the game grows, there's more demand, and that extends to the reps at distribution, because they're hearing about it more. They're like, yeah, like everyone's asking for this. So yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of good stuff, and it gets complicated, and that's also another thing of being a store owner with this game is, there's a lot of store owners that are like, why would I deal with all that when I can just order Magic, fall asleep, it may sell, it may not, but who cares? Like, because Magic's been around since 88 or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. I really appreciate all that insight. Again, I kind of have two local stores I play at. Pre-pandemic, we had this place called Fantasy Shop that my group would always go to, and it was so hopping, and I loved it. And then, this other store we would kind of go to occasionally, and then the pandemic shut everything down. And since then, right across the river, about 45 minutes away from us, right across the river in Illinois, I'm in St. Louis, there's a store in Illinois, and he gets every promo ever. So again, it was like, well, how does he get the promos? But again, I know he also plays the game, so I didn't know, it was like, is just because he helps run the store, and so because he cares, he makes those calls to the distributors, like you said, and it's like, hey, I really want these, send them to me. Whereas the one by us, again, just doesn't get them, and it made this weird balance where, so we're trying to play an Opus 14, and they didn't have any Opus 14 product. They had like Opus 12, maybe Opus 13. And so it's like, well, there's nothing, we don't have new product to play for. And then even when Opus 15 came out, it took them a while to get their product. And so it was this weird like push and pull of, we didn't want to show up to the store because we just didn't feel like there was a reason to. There was no product, it was hard enough getting people to show up. And then the store probably sees that. It's like, oh, well, like you said, well, why should we even stock Final Fantasy? On a Magic night or a Yu-Gi-Oh night, this place is flooded. Why am I stocking Final Fantasy for 4 people that might show up? And then again, it makes that cycle of, well, if they're not going to stock it, we're not going to show up to it. So yeah, it was very frustrating. And I'm hoping again with the return of events that maybe some of that'll get ironed out.
Some good news. That I know Rochelle has told me, and 2 of my reps have told me, the next set, so you have to put your pre-orders in 8 months in advance, which is like ridiculous, but they said, please do not over pre-order because Square is going to be pumping out a ton of this. They have never said that before, which, like, even Opus 16, I am scrambling to find more boxes because if I want to keep running events, you need prize support and all that. Apparently, the next set, they're really pumping out a ton of product. So
that's good to hear.
That'll be nice. So
I hope that's true. Well, and it's funny as a consumer and someone who's still trying to make his way through the world monetarily. It's always so weird to have these like, hey, order your pre-order Opus 19 now. I'm like, guys, I barely pay for the one I just got. Like, I don't want to drop money on that already. But I understand that, like you said, when they ask so far in advance. Do you know, is that exclusive to Final Fantasy? I don't have a ton of experience with other trading card games. Like, does Magic do that as well, Yu-Gi-Oh, or is that more a Final Fantasy thing?
So, I'll use like Flesh and Blood as an example
Sure.
because half of my store is, you know, really dedicated to that. So here's the thing: there's so much product coming from those other games that it's not this dire lock-in. Like most companies with Final Fantasy are worried that if you don't get the pre-orders so early on, that they're gambling on it. Which
Oh,
seems
okay.
silly because it always sells out. Every time it sells out. But yeah, like I made a post on the NA page earlier for Opus, the one with Yuffie, 18
18, I think. Yeah.
that comes
Resurgence of
out.
Power, I think is that one's called.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That comes out like end of November, and you have to pre-order that by the end of next week.
Wow.
So you have to get your numbers in, and the problem is, and that's why I posted. If you don't pre-order it, like you're out. Like,
Wow.
and when you try to order it, now for most stores, how are they going to know 8 months prior? Like they have to lock in their numbers, and that again gets frustrating. Because then the customers go, "Why don't you have?" These boxes, and they're like, because I'm not psychic. I didn't like the only reason I know is because I'm like camping those sites,
Yeah.
and I tell you have to tell me the moment I can pre-order, and no, that's another thing with I think I said earlier with convincing stores to stock Final Fantasy is there's all these extra little you know extra things you have to stay on top of,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, I also, and it may sound corny, but like this community is pretty amazing. Like every community, you've got your cool people, your weirdos, some toxic people. It's just how it goes.
Sure.
But I think it's worth it. And when you see people jamming out with Final Fantasy music playing and all that, like it's a great experience. So
That's awesome. Well, so let's kind of talk about the Haven then, since this is your brand new store, and we'll talk about the
sure.
ReRaise event here in a moment. What made you decide to go to a physical location? Was it you just were just ready for it, or what kind of pushed you towards that?
So I have been trying to save up money for a bit, but I mean, flat out, there's no way I could ever afford like a decent location, especially in Florida.
Mm.
Um, the fees for everything, the amount you have to invest, the rent. I mean, there's ridiculous things where it's like, okay, you need a sign for the store. That doesn't sound too demanding. $5,000.
Ooh.
You're right.
Man.
You're like $5,000. I'll just stand outside and
Yeah.
wait a minute. Like, through Flesh and Blood, they have a really tight community down here. Florida seems to have like a pretty banging card scene, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's so hot, everyone stays inside
Yeah.
and
Right.
plays cards or something. But I know there was a gentleman who ran a store online. It was called Fab Arsenal, Flesh and Blood Arsenal, and we had gone to a lot of events together. And one day he approached me and he's like, "Hey, like a lot of people say good things about you and your store, and it's been running for like half a decade. I'm in the same boat. What do you say we like join forces and do a location?" And it's one of those opportunities where I'm like, this is what I've been working towards my whole life.
Yeah.
I don't have a college degree. That was the shot. So I took it, and then his wife and my wife were just like, yeah, let's just see what happens, and we're just gonna do our best. But the thing I told him from the start was, hey, like you have Flesh and Blood, and we do other games too. I mean, it's not just those two. But I was like, Final Fantasy is my thing. Like,
Yeah.
so we are sticking with that. And the crazy thing is, this past Friday at midnight, I launched the singles. When we did orders for other product, like the pen starters, and all of a sudden, all these orders flood in. And he's like, why don't more stores hold this product? Like, people seem to really like it. And I'm like, because it's not magic? I don't know. Like, it's just one of those things. I was telling him like, hey, we got chosen for ReRaise event, And then he saw the comments where it's like, oh my god, like, I'm booking my flight right now and all this stuff. And he's like, this is like incredible. Like, for Magic, granted they have like pro tours and this, these like lavish giant events with like 5,000 people or something. But he's like, we're just a local store and people are so thrilled to just show up and see everybody. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I love it. I mean, it's really the reason you hold events. Like, yeah, prizing's cool and Amaterasu promos to rub in people's faces, but like, when Matt Okamoto walks into your store and he's got that giant grin on his face, and you're just like, hey, like, haven't seen you in a few months, and it's. And there's so many other people too. It's just, I don't know if you knew him personally, Mystidia.
Alex Scott. Yeah, I've never gotten to talk to him in person, but he's actually the first person I started doing videos with. I kind of piggybacked on his channel, doing some set reviews with him, and then I kind of eventually branched off into my own. But yeah, he was like one of the first guys I kind of connected with.
Oh, okay. No, that's awesome. It was just, I remember for the second reunion, he flew in from like Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he talked, he had that like Canadian accent. And I was like, dude, I'm so happy you're here. Because like, I didn't think I was ever going to meet him.
Yeah.
But just seeing all these people and that you recognize, whether it's through Facebook or content, or, now we're in the same War of the Visions guild and we talk like every day.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of funny because, and maybe this is just the optimist in me and someone who just loves Final Fantasy, but I always have felt like, man, if they really push this game, like if they just gave it their full attention, I think it could be big, because like you said, maybe it's a small sample size. Maybe if we grew to the size of a Yu-Gi-Oh or a Magic, maybe we'd see something different. But it just seems like everyone who plays this game and in the community really, really enjoys it. And like you said, the product's always flying off the shelves. It seems people are very passionate about it. So yeah, I'm always like, man, I almost wish Square would like push this over a video game, even just because I think, maybe it could be that good, but maybe not. Yeah. Again, no way to know for sure. But like you said, every time the feedback and the physical evidence based on sales always seems to be very positive. So hopefully that's only ever a good thing.
Right, and it's something that has kind of wrecked me since the start. Is there is a massive amount of potential, and I think Square just wants to play it safe. Product sells out. Okay, guys, we did good. Now let's get back to Final Fantasy 16 or whatever. There is one thing Michelle once told me, and this is, I think, it makes perfect sense. They'll release like a new Final Fantasy set, or it's like for Final Fantasy TCG, sells out, makes money, cool. If you play Brave Exvius, War of the Visions, Opera Omnia, they go, hey, we released a new outfit for Dagger. That money obliterates FFTCG.
Oh, really?
Like, instantly.
Wow.
And I think if a new character comes out for War of the Visions and people go, I have to have that character, $100. I think if you saw the numbers, it's kind of terrifying how much people spend on these games.
Wow. Yeah, that kind of scared me. You just saying that, I was like, man, people buy costumes that much?
Oh, yeah. So I think Square kind of looks at those numbers and goes, why would we care about, like they care about the card game, I'm not saying that, but the amount of effort that they put towards the real money makers.
Yeah. No, I can see from a business standpoint, if you're saying, well, this is this big and takes this much effort, why would we do when, it's going to take however much effort to get that to rise up to this level? So, yeah. And I do understand whether I agree with it or not, and I'm not saying I do agree with it, but I understand the idea that, well, a mobile game, anybody can play that because it's on your phone. Like, you don't even have to necessarily know what Final Fantasy is, but, like, you're probably only going to play this card game if you either like the IP or you like trading card games in general, which, of course, is more of a luxury hobby and, yeah, not as accessible as, like, a phone game, so.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't know. It's hard to put that into perspective when you love the card game so much.
Yeah.
But then you have moments where I'm like, couldn't you just get a small team, make not that I have to play the same, but make like a Hearthstone version of Final Fantasy, so the rules are automated and you just connect. And let me tell you, if they launched that, I would throw so much money at it instantly, just to be like, I have a collection. I can't trade it. It's in the library, and if I want to skirmish with someone or test something, or test someone, or a deck against someone, like Octagon has proven to be like invaluable, but it would be nice to just hop on, and then you can stream it and people watch. And because let me tell you, if you play a digital card game like Hearthstone, but it was Final Fantasy, and like, you know, you play Balthier and he did like a voice line,
it'd be amazing.
Yeah. So
I verbally have to say right now, when I play my 10 deck, I'll put down Waka and I'll go, okay, brother, you asked for it. Like, no, let me hear John DiMaggio say that when he enters the field. Like, oh, it'd be so sweet.
Like, I'm getting frustrated right now.
I know.
Like,
we all want it. And, you know, again, having played Magic the Gathering Arena recently, I was like, wow, it's so smooth. Like, even my girlfriend would come in and watch me play. She'd be like, oh, everything's so fast. Because even though 8 auto abilities just went off, you know, it's all automated. It's like, yep, and it takes them. It's really new player friendly. Yeah, I know we all would love that. And again, Square's a video game company, so there is kind of this frustration of like, this is your wheelhouse. You want video games, right? And you love that gotcha money. You love those microtransactions. You could, not that I would want you to, but you can absolutely load this thing full of them. Like,
yeah, and I also think that playing the digital card game might instill confidence in a player to go, okay, I've got a grip on this. I'm a little nervous though, but I'll actually attempt to go to a locals now and flexed a little bit, because I think anxiety and social awkwardness is a big thing in card games. That's kind of why with my events, my wife and I push really hard to make the badges so that when you sit with someone, you can go, oh, Travis, like, nice to meet you. Instead of just like staring and you're like, hey, go.
Right.
You know, it's you know, I don't know. Maybe they'll do a card game someday. I you know, who knows? But
someday. So I don't think I've ever seen you play on Octagon or even in any of like the tournaments when I watch like old streams and such. Do you play much, or do you prefer more to be just kind of like a seller distributor, or like how much do you actually play the game?
So, I'm trying to remember like what set it was. I would say from like Opus 1 to 11. I was playing a lot, not really in tournaments. I did go to Fanfare, which I had a lot of fun with. And it was really cool because they put me on stage and we did the boss fight.
Oh yeah, nice.
Which was really fun. I like to do Gunslinger a lot. Again, and that ties in with promos because you play them, and win or lose, you're just like, hey, I got to meet you. I recognize you from Facebook, but now I can kind of match it. Here's a promo. Like, I hope you like the game. But I played for a bit, but lately, especially with COVID, it was me trying to survive. And that sounds weird with COVID, but just financially. Like, I couldn't build, like, you can probably get a really cheap deck, but for the decks I wanted, it was like, nah, I have to sell these cards and like just have to be kind of realistic with it. But no, I have been a mono fire player since way back, and fire had it rough for a while. I mean, I was about to say, you know, wind used to be really good. Well, it's always been good. But fire has gotten exponentially better, and not even just with samurais. I remember, what was it? Reunion, the last reunion.
4 or 3?
I had I think it was 4. I brought a mono fire deck with me. And Brian Berkeley, who I love, he came in the back and he's like, whatever, idiot, I just want a promo. And I'm like, that's the spirit. So he sits down. I forgot what he was playing, but basically I did, trying to remember He's from like 13, 2, and 3. He's a
Noel
4 CP.
or Caius?
Caius.
Caius, yeah.
And opening hand, I was like, okay, Caius into Alice, into Alphino,
Oh, nice.
draw a card, and I'm like, all right, 3 forwards. And he's like, all right, your funeral. And he played Shantoto, and I'm like, Amaterasu.
Nice.
And he just scooped, and I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. Like, no, I love the game. I think it's a very solid game, a surprisingly solid game, because a lot of games that are based on franchises are usually just gimmicky.
Yeah.
But I also just like, I mean, there's the meta decks, obviously, but
Sure.
just seeing what people come up with. I like seeing weird, like Sky Pirate. When you think Final Fantasy, I think Sky Pirates isn't the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
But to see a deck on the field of Sky Pirates, I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could play more, I'll say that. But I think now that I have my own store and we have a specific day where it's like, this is Final Fantasy Day, we're playing Final Fantasy music, where, it's, if you hate Final Fantasy, like, sorry.
Yeah, get out.
I'm like, there's Friday Night Magic, you can have Friday, but,
Yeah.
our day is Sunday, that's when Final Fantasy is. But,
That's awesome.
I want to play more, and this new set is, it's one of my favorite sets in a long time. It's funny because we always go on a high note, and I'm like, but a huge issue I have with this game, and Rice makes fun of me about it all the time, is so in Opus 3, a long time ago, there was an article from Square, and I think it was either one of the designers. They asked him if there was a character you would like to see in the game that's not in the game yet. Who would you like to see? And he said, probably gonna say it wrong. People say either Ygraph or Waygraph from Tactics.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, like I love him. He's like an amazing sort of villain, but like you understand why he's doing what he does.
Is that the guy in the library where you have to fight him solo with Ramza and it's super hard and you can like get locked into that place and then you have to start your whole game over if you can't beat him? Like,
yeah, because you can't, if you save there, the game's like,
you're literally stuck in that fight. You can't get out of it. Yeah, that's fight. Okay, I know who you're talking about.
So I was like, yeah, I love that character. And Opus 4 comes out, Opus 5, Opus 6, Opus 14, and I'm like, why can't you do this character? You have a chihuahua and a fedora, but you can't,
right?
I don't get it. There's no Gafgarian, which I'm sure you've seen it on the Facebook page. Like, can we just get a really good Gafgarian card? It doesn't have to be broken. In Opus 7, I think there was Orlando, who was a sword saint, and then they released, I forgot her name, but it was like, for every sword saint on the field, deal 4K.
I know who you're thinking. It's like Imelda or somebody like that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, they're gonna do like a sword saint theme. Like, this is gonna be awesome. That's the only sword saint they ever released. And then in like Opus 13 or something, they're like, hey, here's like a whole bunch of engineers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, engineers? Like, I get there's a lot of like airship, SIDS and all this other stuff, but like, so can we get sword saints? And then it was, and it's just one of those things where someday, hopefully, but it's just when you open a box and you're like, wow, we got another cloud backup.
Yeah.
Okay, like, I get it. It's Final Fantasy 7. Where's my spiky boy and all that? But
I feel your pain, man. As someone who's played and loved a lot of the games, I was actually thinking about doing a video recently of like top 5 things I love about the game and top 5 things I don't like about it. And one of the things is definitely character representation is just like, I think, really bad. And like you said with the tribals, some tribals they'll give so much support to, and other ones like engineers or sword saints, like, here's an idea, all right, we're never going to touch that again. Or they'll do these games like Type 0, and it's like, okay, every card's ace though. We're gonna just keep make, even though there's 14
Oh my
cadets to
God,
pick
yeah.
from, every card's gonna be ace. And even like I recently played through 9, and there's characters like Dr. Tot. There's a bunch of little side characters. Like, why don't they have a card? Why don't Thorn and Zorn have a card? They got the Melted Gemini, but no, you got to get another Zidane. Like the new Zidane that was printed, why couldn't that have been Garnet or Aquina or, again, Dr. Tot or Amaranth? God, Lord knows he needs a good card. Like, so
Yes, he does.
I totally feel your pain on that. You're just like, come on, you haven't even like given some of the characters a good showing. So, and for me, like that's why I've really enjoyed this 10 starter set, was because 10 is my personal favorite game. So for so long, and 10 is a popular game too. Like I could at least see the argument. Well, not as many people know about Tactic, but like 10 is one of the biggest Final Fantasies.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, and yet that one didn't have like good characters to play for such a long time. Yeah, I don't get it.
Right, like, and kind of with the tactics thing, like I love 11. I've been playing that since 2004. That's kind of terrifying, but it's like, hey, we're gonna include 11 cards, and I'm like, let me guess, it's Shantoto,
right?
And it's and there's hundreds of characters in 11. They have like 8 expansions, and it's like, no, it's not Shantoto. I'm like, I guess it's Preach then, isn't it? And it's just like one or the other, and oh my God, like, whatever. Like, you can complain, and you do see like the standard units that come along. Like, okay, I recognize that, but like in 9, who's the or the troop? I mean, but there's like that group that Zane's with, and they have
the
all the
Tantalus
other
gang.
There you go. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for.
Like have the rest of them.
Yeah, Blank, Marcus, Cena, and Baku is his boss. How do they not have any cards? Like they're really fun characters in that game. Like,
yeah, there was something I really wish they would do. They've done it once, as far as I know. So there's a very, very famous shot of Ramza and Delita in the church. And Delita's looking down on him, and he says something like, "Don't just remember, if if I have to, I'll kill you." And Ramza's looking up at him, and if you put the 2 cards together, it matches.
Yep. I know the image you're thinking of. Yeah.
So why not have, say for Type 0, where you have, and you don't need all 15 of them or whatever, but if you have Ace, Queen, King, and you have them lined up. Yeah, a good shot or
image. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, and now I'm like, yeah, if they have Brave and they party attack, it's like the whole thing goes forward, and that might be a bit out there, but
no, I love it. That's a fun idea.
Something else that's kind of weird is at the fanfare, and I swear he said this. Kageyama was like, very soon we're going to do the duo cards, where it's like, this is a Cloud Red 13 card. So for this set, they showed Sarah with lightning behind her, and I was like, oh, we're finally gonna get them, and they're just like, no, it's just Sarah, but lightning's
hanging out,
flexing. I don't know. Yeah, and that kind of ties in with the whole potential thing. If I could give Cyan the Masamune, awesome. If you could play, I haven't played much Pokemon, to be honest, but I know they have arena cards. If you could be like, hey, I'm playing a Midgar card, so now all my 7 forwards, I don't know, gain 1k or something. I just feel like people would not only love to collect it, but it just adds new elements, because the token thing, I just don't see too much of it. I remember they made Edge. For every ninja, you can throw a shuriken.
Just played that deck the other night. Love that card.
Yeah, and it's cool, but it's how long do cards survive with tokens before you just pop them? Maybe they'll do it soon. I hope they release different. Now again, chapters, they did have that stuff, but I don't know if that's what broke the game, because I never played it, but people said it was chaos at the end.
Yeah.
This whole speech I'm doing, I have talked about this dozens of times. Every time I go to a reunion or locals, it's kind of this speech, and everyone's like, yeah, they should definitely do that. You know, I want to play a lunar whale card, so you know, my four
that'd be
forwards
fun.
do this, and I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we will. So speaking of the ReRaise event, or maybe not speaking of, but anyway, ReRaise event. So this is going to be held on May 21st and 22nd. That is the third weekend of May. So the information is out there. I have definitely some questions I want to ask you about it. So first of all, are there going to be any side events for? Because presumably it's one deck format, right? Or is this two deck format?
One deck.
One deck, and it'll be 2 days, right? So I assume Swiss on the first Saturday, the 21st, and then Top Cut will be on Sunday, correct? Do you know if it'll be top 16, top 32?
So that kind of depends on the numbers. We'll see where that goes. I'll be honest, tickets are selling really well. I think we have like 35 left.
Nice.
It's out of 100 people. I know day 2, some people already, like Hunter Nance was like, we should do draft if you don't make top whatever. And I was like, perfectly fine if I have boxes.
Yeah, that requires a lot of product, I'd imagine.
Right. And that's not up to me because I already have 26,000 emails to all my reps going. I have a big event. Like, I really need products. Like, do whatever you can.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I wanted, if we can do draft, sure. I honestly wouldn't mind doing title, which some people may go, oh, that's like a silly format, but I think people have a lot of fun with it, and that's kind of the whole point. You're not playing for pink slips or anything, so like, you know, take it easy. And I'd like to see what people can come up with in title, because I haven't seen it in a while. I have seen it on like John Schreiner's Returner stream a few times.
He'll play it usually at the end of every season.
Right. We're definitely going to do something, though. Whatchamacallit? We're definitely doing Gunslinger. Everybody's getting promos. Like, yeah, everyone's getting Amaterasu, but I want everyone to get extra stuff, and I just want to chat with people and go, hey, it was nice of you to introduce yourself. Here's a Yang, March promo. There you go. So at the first reunion, I did a really big trivia thing. People loved it, but it was a little buggy because I was renting out a place, so everyone was on like garbage Wi-Fi. So some things didn't work too well. I wouldn't mind doing that again. It's just with 100 people in a store, it can get kind of chaotic. And then someone goes, "No, I did answer that, but it,
they didn't get hurt or whatever." Yeah, I get it.
Right. But we are definitely doing side events. Like, that's 100%. I don't care if it's title or draft or L6 or whatever it has to be. But I think right now it's top 16. Well, we'll just see what the numbers are like at the end of the month. So.
Do you know what all the pricing is yet? Or specifically, I guess, I know you're well aware of whatever you can provide. Do you know what Square Enix is going to provide yet, or is that still up in the air?
Rochelle is trying really hard. I know she is. And if she wasn't, if they were slacking, I would be very honest about it. I do know there is a crystal trophy coming.
Nice.
They are like, it's made. It just has to get approvals and the usual, like, red tape taken care of and everything. So there's a trophy coming. I have heard they're sending like Play Arts Kai's.
Nice.
Play Arts Kai, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of the sleeves are being sent. I think it might be 16. And what I was told was there's those things and more. I don't know what the and more is.
Sure.
Which is frustrating because when you're advertising for an event, a lot of people go, "What's the value? What am I coming out of this with?" I don't know. The minute I hear about it, you will see a Facebook post with a bunch of arrows going, "This is what you're getting. This is what every other event's getting." I don't know, but as a store, wasn't supposed to tell everyone this, but we did contact a merchant. Everyone who's going is getting I don't know if it's like 4-inch, something, 4 or 5 inch. It's a Final Fantasy 6, kind of like a magnetic figure that
Nice.
stands up on its own. And it's an assortment of like all the different characters. Um, it's just something a little extra to be like, hey, you can take, a lock home with you. Like, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
You don't have to win anything. We're going to be giving out raffle prizes for like the what are they called? I don't know if they're called the Ultimanias. They're like those recent encyclopedia books
Yeah.
for Final Fantasy.
I think they are the
Um,
Ultimanias, or I think that's what they're called.
yeah, it's usually like Final Fantasy 1 through 4, then
Yeah.
5 through. And it's just like random stuff. It's like, hey, I know you guys like Final Fantasy and it's free, so why not?
That's awesome.
We were thinking about plushies, and I don't know if you've seen the cost of.
They're a lot.
Yeah, so we're kind of like, all right, maybe not. Like the plush is more expensive than the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah, I've got quite a few
wow.
over on my couch, and yeah, they're not cheap, that's for sure.
No, that's it. As soon as we find out, because I've talked to the other store owners, and I'm like, have you heard anything? And they're like, if anyone knows, it would be you. So like, let us know. And we're just waiting.
Yeah. Okay. Did Square reach out to you about hosting, or did you reach out to them and said, hey, think of me whenever events come back, or how did that go down? Just out of curiosity.
So I'm always in touch with them. Like, hey, I'm hosting a new reunion. Can you send support? Can you do this? Which they have sent support. They've been very nice about it. So I made a post, I don't know, maybe it was like last October or something. And it was like, hey, everyone, like, I'm scouting for a brick and mortar location. Who knows if this is going to work out? But like, And Rochelle reached out and she's like, hey, you've been hosting events for like 5 years now, on your own. If you get the location, like, let me know. There were no promises made, no like, we're
Gotcha.
reserving it for you. There is a deadline. So we were obviously like hunting for a location, and the moment we signed the lease, I reached out and was like, hey, this is how much space we have. In fact, I had to show the thing from the city that says like you can have
Oh, I
X
gotcha.
amount of people in the building.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks passed, and I don't know how you would phrase it. We got approved, or Square was like, yeah, like let them do it. Which I felt really lucky. I know a lot of places are wanting to do it. I know Texas was wanting to do it like forever, and they got a spot. So it was kind of like a mutual thing. It was nice that Rochelle was kind of looking out, and then heard I was opening a place, and was like, all right, let's see if he can pull it off now that he has his own place. Which being the first store, like the first host for it out of I think there's 5 or 6 of them. Little pressure, but I also like being in control of like, well, let's set the precedent.
Yeah.
For the rest of the stores, and
Make it
I'm
a-
sure they're. Yeah,
make it a great weekend. Well, and for
right.
I'll announce here that yours truly will be casting the event. I am lucky enough to be commentator. James was gracious enough to allow me to do that. I don't know if I'll be there in person yet. I'm going to try to do that. I really would like to, because it would be interesting to be in that atmosphere and just be able to be there, in the crowd. But if nothing else, I'll always cast it right from this lovely office I'm in, and then you'll get all my insight and commentary. So definitely looking forward to that.
It is Florida. I know a lot of people are very cautious about COVID and that whole thing. We're gonna try our best, but unfortunately, Florida is very like, why are you wearing a mask?
Gotcha.
And it's kind of awkward. We are going to do our absolute best to clean up the place, wipe stuff down. But that could also just be a factor why some people may not make it. But I hope they watch the stream, so they can kind of join in.
Absolutely. Do you want, if you want to say it right now, or if you're not sure yet, do you want folks to wear masks? Do you have any certain policy on that, or?
So, you are more than welcome to, but even the shopping center we're in, they're like, you cannot impose that on people.
Sure.
Like, you
Okay.
can't force them to. which seems weird. I would think like if you're the owner, why can't you?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, I mean, like even the sign we were gonna have for the store, it was gonna have a very like shiny, almost Final Fantasy like flesh and blood thing to it, and they're like, nope, has to be white letters, like deal with it, and that's just you just follow the rules. Like wearing a mask, certainly there's no downside to it. Just it's not forced, so take that as you will, I guess.
Good to know. Do you have any recommendations for anyone who's never been to this area before, as like places to stay, food to get, anything of that nature?
Unfortunately, can't really recommend a place to stay, which I've had like 30 people go, what's the best hotel, you know, all that. But within our shopping center, you have right next door to us is a giant Publix where you can get subs and deli stuff and whatever. Next to that is an amazing pizza place, and next to that is a Chinese place, and next to that is a Applebee's. So it's like,
nice.
I hope there's enough of a variety to do that. So yeah, there's like plenty of food. I will say this: parking is going to be a little rough. 100 people slamming into a shopping center is going to be a little dicey. But if you show up early, or you may have to walk for 2 or 3 minutes, should be fine. So.
Is there another parking lot where people could go, if like one close by, or?
Well, it is a massive parking lot, and the thing is, you probably won't find parking like where the parking's closest to all the stores.
Gotcha.
But if you park in the middle, like, yeah, it'll take like 30 seconds or something. But if you're willing to do that little walk, like, should be fine. I'm trying to think like what parking lot's next to us. I would not recommend that because it's just like a very busy street at that point. But it should be fine.
Well, folks, that was all the questions I had for James. Thank you so much for coming on with me and telling us about the Haven Games. And I know I am very much looking forward to the ReRaise event. I'm sure a lot of people out there are as well. And, thank you for coming on, supporting the community the way you have with Cards of Ivalice, being the moderator. I will put a link to his store in the description below. James, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, or a thank you, or a hello, or whatever you want to say?
Sure. There's a whole bunch of people, but of course my wife, it was her idea from the start to get into the game and do all this. I'm pretty sure she found the little local store that had the game. There was like the Square Enix store finder thing.
Yeah.
A huge shout out to you and all the content people who are still consistently making content for people to check out deck ideas, because God knows the first thing people do when they join the game is, hey, I like Final Fantasy now, what's really good?
Yeah.
And, but a lot of the players that get everyone hyped, Matt Okamoto, Brian Berkeley, Sam Prime has been showing up a lot lately, which that's awesome to hear. White Mage, David, I know he puts in a lot of work. By the way, he was just mentioning he's doing another Cure series. Is it Cure? I don't know if he changed the name of it.
Yeah, Cure is the webcam one. He does a Suna series sometimes, which is like the title version. But yeah, Cure series is like the next season of webcam games with standard format.
Okay, yeah, but if anyone can support him, do that. Rochelle, thank you so much for all the work you put in. I know it's crazy over there in California, just all the amount of work that goes on to the FFTCG team. Yeah, and just the community in general. I can't wait to see all you guys in 4 weeks. Wow, that's kind of scary.
It's coming up. Well, folks, we hope to see you at the Haven Games. If not, tune into the stream. James will either have his own channel set up, but if worse comes to worse, they don't get that. I'll be streaming it on my channel. So either way, I'm sure there'll be posts about it all over the Discords and the Facebook pages. So get to see a nice return to competitive action. We'll see which decks come out on top. Are Sky Pirates and Twins still going to be a thing if those disappeared? We're going to find out.
Right.
So, James, thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you in Florida. Take care.